because we've got a line here.
Thing that I put about mortgage rates getting being in the mid sixes, but there's a special thing that you have to do.
Yeah, but that's just a cap. Isn't that just companies catching?
For what? I'm sorry.
Mortgage rates. I put it in the Discord so you guys.
Mortgage
can talk about
rates at 6%. That's just a company's advertised, isn't it? Catching it.
Actually, that's kind of some truth to it. There's a little truth to that.
Okay, good.
We can discuss it.
We should have had Chase here for that.
We're live. Good. Welcome to the Texas Real Estate Show. Here we are in good old Houston, Texas, and we like to talk about everything real estate, whether you are a real estate investor, an agent, or just curious about the market. And definitely, if you're thinking about buying a home, then you know who to contact. Contact the experts over here with Lone Star Premium Mortgage or at Century 21 Olympian. We invite other people to make comments on the chat if you're interested in doing that. Please like, subscribe. If there's anybody from even any other companies that want to participate in this show, you are more than welcome to come and pay us a visit. And we would love to hear from you and get your comments on the market. First of all, I'd like to introduce my guest this morning. And here we have Courtney Guerrero.
Yep. Hello, everybody.
And she's from Lone Star Premium Mortgage, and she's a valued part of what we have in our office.
Do you value my opinion, Stephen?
We do. I've got to say that you're doing a loan for me at the moment to purchase a house that we close on tomorrow, so I value you very greatly at the moment. I know what you've sort of gone through with that. And then we've got Laura Zaniga. How are you, Laura?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
You sure?
Yes.
You had a bit of a rough day yesterday, didn't you?
Yes, a little bit of a rough day, but we're good.
Daughter was in a car accident, unfortunately. She was T-boned, but she's doing okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Good.
And make sure and mess with Laura today. She did not wear makeup, so she'll get red for
Oh,
you. There she goes.
No, she is wearing makeup because we couldn't park this morning because she was putting her makeup on.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I was just putting eyeliner on.
Oh. We was all waiting to park in what spots were available, and we couldn't park because
somebody scared me on my window.
and it was her sister.
At least you didn't take your eyeliner and go,
The
woo!
sisters
I
are
was
really
like this, and then it was like, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, her sister's one of the agents that we have in the office, so it's a pretty interesting situation. We have a bit of fun with both of them. Anyway, as I said, we're here to sort of learn and share information. We learn from one another. That's part of our philosophy on the Texas Real Estate Show. So, that's where the like, share, and subscribe comes in. So, first of all, we're going to talk about the housing market is in a bubble, but home prices may not fall. I don't think we're in a bubble at all. Definitely in the South, we are not in a bubble. Houses, in my opinion, are still going up, perhaps not as much as they did in previous years, but they are still going up. I recently bought a distressed property only because I knew somebody that owned the house that lives abroad. But what's happening in a lot of areas at the moment, there are some people, investors, that basically are not experienced, or they don't have a property management company managing the property. They're digging themselves a hole because they think they're saving a few pennies, and then what they end up doing is they're ending up, selling their house because the property is not being managed. We've had a lot of calls this week actually from investors that are living in California, even some abroad, and they're selling their properties. So, if anybody's in that situation and you want to sell your house in the condition that it is, let us know and we'll make you a cash offer for the property, and we'll do the repairs. And actually Century 21 have just released a new program which is called Century 21 Revitalize, where we work with Angie's List, and Angie's List will do the repairs for you, up to $50,000. And then what will happen is they will take that money out at closing.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So yeah, it's a new program they got. They work with Angie's List, and all the vendors can sign up for this. And basically, the sellers don't have to. It's exclusive to Century 21. The sellers don't have to pay for the repairs out of pocket.
So
There's conditions to it, of course, like 12-month listing agreement.
So to kind of add on to that as to what it can mean for these, people that are wanting to sell, sometimes they don't have the money to really put in those repairs.
Right.
And if they have somebody to be able to do it for them, they can, instead of, selling it for pennies on the dollar to an investor, they can actually get top dollar for their house.
Right. That's
amazing.
That's the principle of it. And it's a new program that Century 21 have sort of just released. But yeah, that's basically the program. So there is no housing bubble, in my opinion, in the southern states. I mean, what's your feeling on that?
Well, everybody likes to compare it back to, 2008, but unfortunately we had a lot of really bad mortgages back then. They're a lot more better now. They make sure that these borrowers are qualified to get these houses. And then on top of that, we have a shortage in houses still. We still have a supply demand problem.
Right.
So even if houses were to go on the market, they're going to not be sitting on there. They're going to be bought anyways, because we have a lot of people that still need houses out there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then...
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, builders can't build fast enough. Like, for example, I have 2 buyers right now. They're selling their primaries and buying a new build. But, they're still, in this market, they're still getting a lot of offers. Like, they got a lot of offers. And the houses have been only in the market for like maybe 3 days, less than a week, and they have a lot of offers. And people still outbidding the other because they want that particular property. So
Yeah.
it's not like in this area, it's common to still see that competitiveness happening.
Yep.
Good. It's interesting. And then I put another article in there as a comparison to let you know how lucky we all are in the United States of America, regardless what the political situation is, and just the housing market in general. But we brought something up which is basically mortgage defaults rise at the fastest pace since 2009. But I just want everybody to know this is in the UK. Obviously, you can tell I'm Texas born and bred. That I just happen to be born in the UK, but basically defaults and foreclosures are on the rise in the UK. So the market is declining slightly over there. They was in a similar situation as what we was with offers for houses. My mother went into care and is in care at the moment with Alzheimer's disease in the UK, and we sold her house and we had multiple offers on the property to look at.
See,
And we ended up taking a cash offer for the property.
kind of to add on to as well, I don't know how they do it in the UK, but here with FHA conventional loans, since 2008, they've made a lot of different things that a homeowner has access to be able to stay in their house. They have housing assistance. They can modify their loan to extend out the payments so that their payments will be lower. For FHA, they can even, if you're missing payments, say somebody gets hurt from work, they can sometimes take everything that's owed and put it on the end of the house, because it's always going to build equity. So they have a lot of things put into place so that people aren't getting foreclosed on, and people that are having hard times can still stay in their houses.
Right.
So,
but what I wanted to do is to just sort of use that article quickly to sort of let people know what
We're still in a blessed country.
we are, And there is a lot of opportunity over here, and I do think that, you know, there's no good or bad time, in my opinion, in the US to buy a home. You know, I mean, you have your buyers seminars. I know you've got one this evening, but and if you need more information, please remember their emails at the end of this and just email them directly, both Laura or Courtney, and they'll send you. They have them very regular. It works out very well.
Yeah, and then if anybody, you know, is on here that is a homeowner, definitely talk to your mortgage company. If you're struggling making your payments or struggling with anything else, there's a lot of options out there, and they are there to help you to find those different options instead of just shove you out of the house.
Well, that's the same thing as what people do with credit cards. They just shove their head in the sand and say, oh, well, you know, it'll go away. And they end up digging themselves a hole, and the hole just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So anyway, then we'll sort of move on with that. I just wanted to sort of go through something which I thought would be pretty interesting to cover. It says, I wanted the two Texas loan ladies, that I call, to just cover what is a wholesale mortgage lender. Can you go through that with us and just cover what is a wholesale mortgage lender? Did you see the article?
Yes, so we are a unique, I would say a unique breed of loan officers. So you have your traditional banks, right, which is like your major ones that you know, your Bank of America, your Wells Fargo's,
Now,
all of those banks, right?
I just want to interrupt you for 1 minute. Dale, who was on the Olympian Texas podcast, the Olympian Table podcast yesterday, made an interesting comment. He said,
Chase.
Chase.
What did I call him?
Chase, you look
Dale.
like
Dale.
You went really far out there.
No. Dale's from one of our companies that I was discussing with this morning. Chase, who was here, well, he was the first time I met him. Give me a break. But basically, he was saying that at one time, if people wanted a mortgage, traditionally they would go to their bank because of the branding, like Wells Fargo or Bank of America or anything. Now it's changed, correct?
It's common sense, you know, for example, like, you know, it's just the way people's mindsets are. Because, like, for example, who is the first person that somebody's going to call to buy a house? A realtor, most of the time, right? If they don't know the difference between a loan officer or a realtor, they're going to call a realtor first, and then they're going to go look for a bank, right? So it's kind of like a mindset. So most people will traditionally, to answer your question, will traditionally, okay, if I need a loan, where am I going to go? Where I have my traditional, you know, checking account, savings account, you know, that's like people's mindset. That's where they, you know, the easy access versus like really getting information. And then you have your credit unions, right, which are privately owned. And then you have us as mortgage brokers out. Well, you have the retail banks, and then you have true mortgage brokers. And the difference between those is like your retail bank still works like your traditional bank because they have a lot of overhead and all of this pricing and rates that, you know, increase your rate. Sort of a little bit lower than your Wells Fargo's and Bank of America, but still high up there. And your mortgage broker, we're the ones that are independently owned, and we're the ones that do all the legwork for you. For example, go look for, you know, take your application, get all your documents and everything, and go looking for that loan for you that specifically applies to you. Like, for example, you know, even from down payment assistance to certificates to overcoming, you know, funds for closing costs. Like, we customize and we come down to what your need is versus us saying, no, we can't help you because you don't fit inside our guidelines. And this is why we also offer bank statements or investor loans or commercial loans, because we actually have a variety to customize that loan for you. And we do not have all that overhead that's going to cost you your rate.
Also, to kind of add on to that as well, when you go to your bank, they have one set of rules, one lending, and for us, we work with probably, you know, every wholesale mortgage lender or broker is a little different. They have a little bit different banks in their, portfolio, but us as a company have about 30 different ones.
Okay, so do you consider yourself a wholesale mortgage lender, or do you consider yourself a mortgage broker?
Broker.
So,
Because
so what's the
as
difference?
a broker, you can offer all these products, right?
Right.
So
which-
when we broker it, the difference between the two is when we broker it, we're actually not funding a loan in-house and then selling it aftermarket.
Right.
For a wholesale mortgage lender, they're actually funding the loan in-house and then giving it to somebody else or selling it to another institution. So we're kind of a middle person for a lot of different banks.
Okay. All right.
So that's kind of the difference, but
I think the ideal thing is that what the buyer is going to get out of a mortgage broker, a true mortgage broker, because I know retail are calling themselves brokers as well, which is a misconception.
So when you say
And-
retail, is retail the banks, or is
Retail, it's, for example, somebody that funds the loan.
okay?
Right?
Let me tell you something that I'm not a great lover of Wells Fargo. I've had some bad and terrible experiences with Wells Fargo. Even now, one of my loans for one of my investment properties is with Wells Fargo. All right? I don't think it's a positive experience. Now, what happened was a lender that I used for that loan, they put the loan together, they packaged it up, and then they sold on the loan to Wells Fargo.
as a servicing,
As no, they sold the whole loan to them, I think.
because there's a difference between
But I was so upset because I hate Wells Fargo and I don't want to give them any business.
Yeah, there's a difference between servicing and actually selling the loan altogether, because most of them are all sold to the secondary market, like Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which are your conventionals. Then we got FHA, USDA, all those good ones. So when they're sold to the secondary market, sometimes the servicer is still the person that you're with. Even though they don't have your loan, they're servicing the loan. So they're the ones that are going to be collecting the payment, make sure the payment is correct, looking over your escrow account. And when you go to sign, it does say if it can be sold off as far as servicing goes. 9 times out of 10, they can be. So even if you do close a loan with a certain bank, it doesn't mean that you're going to stay with them as a servicer. They do tend to move
But
around.
do Wells Fargo do a lot of servicing?
I'm not sure.
I think they do. I think
Probably
they do. I
do.
think they service other institution loans.
Because they do get a certain percentage and stuff for servicing and taking care of everything. Another thing too that a lot of people don't understand, as well as like when you go to the bank, you think that your conventionals and your FHA loans, they're going to have the same standards everywhere you go, but every bank can put what they call overlays on there. So everybody has to follow the FHA and conventional standards, but sometimes they can make it a little bit harder or make what's called an overlay. So even if an FHA says we can go down to 580 for 3.5%, one bank can say, we don't want to do lending for anybody that's under like a 620. That's their overlay. They say 620 and above. So even if this person might be able to get approved at a 580, this bank is going to deny them because it's not in their guidelines and their overlays. So we as mortgage broker look at those overlays and fit them to a bank that will, take them if they're borderline, or maybe one bank won't take them. So unfortunately, a lot of buyers will go to one bank, apply, and if they're not approved there, they don't seek anywhere else. And another thing that I think some loan officers definitely do a disservice to the borrowers is that they won't explain exactly, hey, this is why you're not being approved. Here are the things that you need to do to get approved. They kind of just do okay, you're approved or you're denied, and push them on their way. And I'm a firm believer of at least, getting them on their path to have ownership. So.
Yeah, and a lot of things that I see, and is that, like Courtney said, you go to your traditional bank and they tell you no, and they just crush your dream and you stop trying, right?
Do you know what I really...
So that's something that people need to like reset their mindset and really...
There's one thing that I'm really grateful for both of you being in this office is because I appreciate, especially with the loan that we're doing and we're closing on the property tomorrow, that it's a new investment property that, you know, I'm taking, that you take everything. Okay, you request what you need, but you take it, you package it, you send it to your underwriting department, and hopefully, you know, we get a clear to close on everything and we're good to go. I like it better that way. One of the things that I haven't liked about Bank of America and all the big 4 or 5, whatever, Bank of America, Wells Fargo and such like, is what happens is you never speak to the same person twice.
Yeah, usually you're kind of put through an assembly line. You're like, okay, you're in this stage of your loan, you're going to talk to this person. Oh, this person over here is requesting something, so now you have to talk to a different person. Oh, this is with a different department.
That's exactly the issue.
And, you know, 9 times out of 10 when you mess with a mortgage broker, you're going to deal, first point of contact is going to be your loan officers for everything you need. Second point of contact is sometimes there will be a processor in there or an assistant, but otherwise you should be able to get a hold of your loan officer to ask any questions, and they shouldn't be sending you elsewhere.
And you don't have to repeat yourself over and over and over, or like, here's where I was like 2 days ago, until like a 30-minute story so somebody can understand you, because we already know your story.
Let me tell you, one of my frustrations is I called up, it was actually Wells Fargo, and we called up, and one of my investment properties is in my wife's name. So of course Wells Fargo wouldn't even release any information because my wife's name's on the loan, which I understand. So then we had to send a load of stuff, do a load of information, send the forms off, and it must have took 3 or 4 weeks. Now, one of my philosophies when I buy an investment property is, originally when I buy the property, it's not going to cash flow too much normally. That's what investors don't understand. Very rarely does the property cash flow from the first mortgage payment you pay. Mm-hmm. You know, you've got a little bit of upfront cost.
Yeah, if you're looking to get rich and investing, you know, real estate, it's not just
it's a long-term.
It's a long-term commitment, but it does make a lot of money in the end. It's about how long you're in the market.
But basically, what I do is, as soon as a property starts to give me a little bit of money, what I normally do is pay a little bit more off the principal each month. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that over a time, I'm paying more off the principal than I am off the interest.
Yep.
That's the position I like to be in. And I've paid off my investment properties, you know, before the loan has been due. And that was my frustration with Wells Fargo, was to even get to somebody, to get to the right department. Then my wife's got to be on the phone as well, you know, to speak to them. It's got to be verified. They literally, like you said, they take you from one department to the next department, and then, oh, well, Carolyn needs to be on the phone. Okay, so you've got to do it. There was one night we was on the phone for nearly an hour, and then they sent us documents that needed to be signed and notarized. Yeah. You know, so that's why I was so frustrated that the loan was transferred over to Wells Fargo. So sorry, Wells Fargo, you can keep your Stagecoach.
We definitely do not endorse Wells Fargo.
Well, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm sure perhaps they've got some good points that I can't see, and it's just me being, you know, miserable.
But something to keep in mind is that if a buyer's out there and if you've been told no and you have not been explained the reason, you know, come to us if you're in Texas, and, you know, we'll help you dilute the situation and, you know, hopefully help you out, either if we have a product, or, you know, get you in that stage.
And let me just explain something that people and agents forget. Inexperienced agents don't really understand this, is not every loan product you can use for there's some loan products that you can't use for various properties. And a lot of new agents come in and think, oh, you can just get a loan for this property, but the property doesn't qualify for the loan, and the loan doesn't qualify for the property.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the benefits I see in a good loan officer. And if you're working with a good agent, because that's part of the team, the work that you and the customer service that you give to that buyer, because the buyer's not going to understand.
Mm-hmm.
You see, that's
Right.
why, going back to what you said, when you said, well, who's the first person they contact? Is who? The real estate agent.
C21 agent, yeah.
But if you're an experienced in the business, the first thing I tell my clients to do is contact Laura and Courtney.
And just from experience working with your team, Stephen, and it's, you have a great team here, and my experience working with your agents is that whenever I approve their buyer, I tell them what type of loan they're getting, right? Whether it's a conventional FHA loan or VA, whatever it is, and I tell them, okay, so we have a conventional loan. This is kind of like what to follow. If we have an FHA loan, this is kind of what to follow. If you have a condo, this is what you kind of follow. So, and I didn't really have to babysit your agents, which thank you for that, for being a
You're
good
lying.
broker for them. No, I'm not, because they're like, I was kind of giving them the rundown, and they're like, I got it, Laura. Like, I know that. So it's good to work with a partner like
I tell
your
you-
team that knows
Well,
if they're going to get their buyer into a condo, they
think-
already know that if it's not FHA approved, they're wasting their
Well,
own time.
one of the comments
you
I
know?
want to make, first of all, I want to thank you for the compliment. I take it as a compliment, and I was only joking about my agents. I've got some good agents, but I think when you start to work with a brand, there's a standard that you've got to try and keep yourself up to the, in the market, and that's the issue that I think there is in the real estate industry at the moment. I think there's, a lot of agents are now starting to come back to the brands because there's a lot more that we have to offer in the way of support and otherwise. So, to be perfectly honest, I think that's part of it. But I have got a good group of agents here, and I think some of the top agents have been, very thorough.
Yep, they
So-
have been.
Anyway, let's talk about next topic. Home buyers can still get a mid 6% mortgage rate. I didn't know I thought there was higher than that, but you explained it's not a lie. Because what happened, guys, I just want to explain something to you. When you see stuff like this on here, you need to look to see if it's an ad. This was from Yahoo Finance, and the reason is because sometimes what it is, it's clickbait. So what happens is you go in there, you click it, you go in there, and then to get further information, you put your name, your email, and everything else, and you put in there. And what ends up happening is you end up, it's not that particular mortgage rate isn't available. But you say it is available, correct?
There are some available. It just depends on the borrower, and points and stuff like that. So, but to say that, we have seen that these type of loans, which they're talking about adjustable rate mortgages, are ARM loans. We have seen that they have decreased in interest rate. They have been probably for the last, I want to say, year and a half, very close to a 30-year fixed mortgage rate. So there's really nothing that is making them, a good choice to go with, to be honest with you. But now we have seen that they have started to drop. So it is an option for some borrowers, but it does, take that stability out of the 30-year fixed rate. So the interest rate can fluctuate. It really depends on us really knowing our borrowers to see if this is a good fit for them.
Okay, because it says that applications for 5/1 adjustable rate mortgages jumped 32% week ending October the 6th.
Yep, I would definitely see that. Right, Laura, you've seen a decrease in the adjustable rate mortgages lately?
Yes, actually, that's a good topic because I actually priced one. I priced a 30-year and I priced the ARM. And surprisingly, I was like, wow, this is like a whole interest, like 1.25% difference. So, but did it fit my buyer? It did not fit my buyer.
For
Yeah.
what
But
reason?
I did offer the option.
For what reason?
For the reason that they're in it, like this is their retired home, and they don't want to mess with it. They don't they're like, who knows? Our health is deteriorating. There's a lot of uncertainty. Like, we're going to retire here soon, one of us, and blah, blah, blah. So it's like you present it, and that's another good thing. As being a broker, you present the options, right? And then let them decide and give them your opinion, your professional opinion, and let them decide which product they want.
Yeah, it just really depends.
But yes, it has decreased.
You know, if somebody is going to be moving here and they're moving into their starter home, they only plan on being there for, 2 years, 3 years max, and, start a family after that, then an adjustable, rate mortgage is a good option for them. It's something that we should at least present and show the differences and let them decide ultimately, but at least give them the option, right? Sometimes it's not a good option. If we have borrowers that are kind of living paycheck to paycheck, which is a lot of the country, sometimes that stability is worth over saving a penny now and possibly not being able to refinance later or get out of their adjustable rate mortgage if it does happen to go up. So it just depends. We really have to know our borrowers and, give them our best opinion on it and go from there.
Okay. All right. We haven't got too much time today, but we're actually going to finish off with just a little bit of fun, to be perfectly honest, and sort of brighten things up again. But we'd just like to know, I'd like to ask the young ladies, do you think there's any castles in Texas?
Yes.
Yeah.
You do?
I know there's one not too far from here, ain't there?
The Newman Castle.
Right? Okay.
So can we talk about the castles, the last one? 6 amazing castles in Texas that will make you travel back in time.
Well, we have one in Galveston as well.
You
Do we?
The Bishop Palace.
What is a castle doing in the middle of Texas?
My favorite one is the Newman's Castle. I don't know about you guys.
I haven't
Maybe because I've been there.
I haven't visited any of them.
Hey, something to add to our bucket list.
But I wouldn't call that a castle.
The Newman's Castle?
That looks like a castle.
That's the Newman's Castle.
And where's that?
That's not too far from here. If it's a road trip, for me, it's not too far. I don't know about anybody else.
Let's see.
Now, Clifton, I think it's a little bit further. I'll tell you exactly how far it is from here.
I'll tell you. Give me just a second. So it's kind of in the middle, in between Sealy and Hempstead. So it's really not too far. So if you're coming from Houston, maybe an hour and a half drive, give or take. All right? Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
For me, 2.5 hours.
Exactly. This is what I was saying. Like, I don't know what you considered far. But see, I'm right at the, at the outskirts of
You live in
the
the outskirts,
Houston area. So for me, that's like
She's
jump
like,
in the car and you'll be there like.
she's like, let's go to Austin for one day. I'm like, no, I'm good.
Look at that. There's even a
I know a lot of
slingshot.
people. A lot of people go there to take pictures.
They have a bakery there. So to me, this is a fall trip because you have the bread, the coffee, and that's me. So
Is that what you dream about in retirement? Just to sit outside and
with my
watch the
paste,
clouds with your pastry and your coffee?
yeah, and crocheting hats.
See, but Kay does that every morning.
What did I do? Have coffee?
Your matcha tea
Oh yeah, my matcha.
and your donut.
Man, there's a lot of castles. I gotta do this.
There's quite a few castles. So there's one.
There's more than I
in-
expected, to be perfectly honest.
Now there's one that you can actually stay in.
Ooh, I would want to go to this Pemberton Castle. I see all of this.
See all the graffiti?
Yes, I want to go see that. I'm more excited about that than I am about the
graffiti?
castle.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
It makes it horrible.
I guess I'm weird.
You are. But the one that I like personally is number 2, Castle Avalon.
Number 2.
Yeah. I think that's more of a what I call a castle. more the castles you'll see in Europe, which were basically built in, I think, Anglo-Saxon times. were most of
Really, the
castles.
Avalon one.
I'm surprised one has held up in Galveston, to be honest with you. But man, that
When was the castle built?
in Bishops.
Any of them? I'd like to know when they were built,
Oh, that's a great question.
because the castles in England were built in 19th
Well, the
century
Newman's
Britain.
Castle is a replica, so I mean that really doesn't count, but it is a castle. Now the Bishop Palace,
It was sturdy enough to.
1892.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it sturdy enough to withstand the hurricane in 1900? So it was pretty back there.
It was built in 1892. Does that suffice? Your standards?
No, it's not.
No?
Not at all.
To be honest with you,
the
most
Anglo-Saxons
castles
in Europe were built around
like early 1800s,
like
right?
1066, 1100.
Oh goodness.
You know, that's why American construction is terrible.
Yes.
Well, this is cool for Texas, okay?
Oh, it is. No, don't get me wrong. No, I don't. And I'll be honest with you, you know, that one, the top one, is more like something you might see perhaps in Palestine or something like that. Because of the dome top.
Mm-hmm.
Or even, you know, just the Mediterranean.
Aw, Castle Avalon is permanently closed. That's sad.
Well, you can go outside and take pictures. Wander off.
But it says it's available for weddings, parties, and that the state is located in the town of New Braunfels, which isn't far from us.
Do you want to have a bridal shower there, Courtney?
Well, you was talking about office.
Who's
Christmas.
getting married?
You was talking.
You're gonna
You
get
was,
married.
you was
so-
talking about office Christmas parties this morning.
There you
I
go.
just asked if you were gonna have one or not.
There you go. We'll have it as.
What do you think about the old Red Museum Castle? That's in Dallas.
It's gotta be pretty. It's in
The
Dallas.
palace.
Yeah, which is actually
It was built in 1892 as well, so.
in Central Dallas. So
Oh man, it's huge. Yeah, that would be fun too. Thanks. You gave me some things to do during, these next few weekends.
What, go and look at castles.
Yeah.
let's go. The Maverick House. What does that look like?
Here we are saying about a housing shortage.
Or you can buy a castle in Texas. The Maverick is in the heart of San Antonio.
And then let's talk
What?
about the last one we'll talk about is let's talk about what's the last Texas castle, the weird looking one that looks like a ship. The Texas castle on the market has its own moat. Can you bring
That don't
one
really look
down?
like a moat though. Yay, we can buy a castle. Let's do it. 6.5 million. It's in Clifton, Texas. Opened in 2008. It's a resort.
This is the one you were looking at.
It's up for grabs as a family compound. It has a luxury boutique hotel or an event venue. It's kind of in a weird shape. I don't know.
I'm not into that.
It looks pretty. It looks really cool. All I gotta say is, I hope they have an elevator in there. That's a lot of stories.
Just think
All
about
I think about whenever I get a house is 2, 3 stories, 4 stories. I'm not
you
bringing a
think so?
vacuum cleaner up and down the
Absolutely, that's exactly
the
what my point
stores
is.
to
I
clean.
mean, I can't believe it when people say, "Oh, well, I want to buy a 7,000 or an 8,000 square foot house." I'm thinking, who's going to clean that?
Mm-hmm. It's pretty. It's very pretty.
We sold some high-end homes last year. One of them in a very well-known area called River Oaks.
It's got some of your favorite roofing on there, Stephen.
Was that slate
I think it is.
or Mediterranean tile?
It might be Mediterranean
No,
tile.
Mediterranean tile is not my favourite roof. And just so anybody knows, it's so difficult to repair, and and so expensive to replace.
Yeah, my brother-in-law actually just had a Category 4 hurricane go through Puerto Vallarta, and like all their like slate tiles are ripped off. It's bad. They're gonna have a lot of repairs to do there.
Yeah. And now with the insurance, if the roof is over 10 years old, the insurance, there's a premium on the insurance. So.
You ready to wrap this up, Stephen?
Yeah, I think so. So we'll wrap that up for this day. I want to thank the Texas Loan Ladies for, doing all the good things that you do. I appreciate you. I hope the home buyers seminar goes well this evening for you. It's a pleasure to host them events for you. So if anybody out there wants any information on your upcoming home buyers events, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact the Loan Ladies. And Courtney, how do we contact you?
Yes, you can contact me at Courtney@lspmortgage.com.
So there you go. And Laura, how do we contact you?
At Laura@lspmortgage.com or social media.
Is that easy or what? Or you can contact us through any social media. You can contact 1721 Olympian at c21olympiantx.com, or all the social media platforms we are on, C21 Olympian TX. Love to hear from you all. Sorry it's a short show today, but we have a few things we've got to take care of, but we appreciate you tuning into the show. Looking forward to hearing from you. Take care. Peace.